is what the soul's name.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Charles Lindsay, and I'm the Chief Administrative Officer at the DC Department of Housing and Community Development. And welcome to DHCD's Ward 7 listening session on behalf of our Director, Colleen Green. Thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to join us tonight. DHCD is passionate and committed to affordable housing and supporting communities across the district. I want to start this evening by introducing the DHCD staff that are in the room. To your left, you have Ms. Shawn Lassiter, Lionel Gaines, we have Pamela Hillsman up front, and Nicole Austin is also joining us today. So that's important because if you have specific questions, we're going to ask you to, ask one of the staff members specific. The purpose of the housing listening sessions is to, one, educate district residents about how DHCD's housing resources, about our housing resources. Two, inform the public about DHCD's progress on affordable housing. And third, listen to district residents' housing needs and concerns. So we're here to educate, inform, and listen. Often, DHCD, Department of Housing and Community Development, is confused with the functions of other agencies like the DC Housing Authority and the DC Department of Human Services. Although we are a sister agency, we are not the DC Housing Authority nor Department of Human Services. DHCD manages the district's public housing stock funded by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. That was a mistake. The DC Housing Authority manages the district public housing stock funded by the Department of Housing and Community Development, U.S. HUD, and Housing Choice Voucher Program. DHS, or the Department of Human Services, manages the Emergency Rental Assistance Program, Rapid Rehousing, Emergency Housing Rental Programs, helping residents exit shelter and short-term housing, and many other programs. DHCD's mission is to produce and preserve opportunities for affordable housing and economic development, and to revitalize underserved communities in the district. DHCD fulfills this mission by providing gap funding for affordable housing, construction, and preservation, supporting communities through neighborhood-based activities, increase first-time home ownership opportunities through our HPAP program, fund the rehabilitation of multifamily and single-family homes. Our single-family homes primarily focus on roof repairs and accessibility improvements. Provide funding for homeless prevention, addressing vacant and abandoned properties, oversees the administration of the rental housing laws, and the inclusionary zoning of affordable housing. So thank you again for your time and the opportunity to share vital information about our agency with you. And we look forward to addressing your concerns and hearing from you. If you would like to know more information about DHCD, we encourage you to visit our website at dhcd.dc.gov. Visit DHCD in person at our new home at 1909 Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue Southeast, or give us a call at 202-442-7200. You can also check our availability housing opportunities by visiting DCHousingSearch.org. We do ask when stating or asking your questions, we ask you to state your name, what ward you live in. We'd like to know how long you've lived in the district, and if you're a homeowner, renter, or landlord. That's just to see who's in the crowd and just to gauge the questions. So there are a few housekeeping things I'd just like to state. One, we have a number of people who want to speak this evening. So we want to ask everyone to keep your comments to 3 minutes. Right? I know some folks are passionate, I understand that, but we like to keep all comments down to about 3 minutes. If you have specific questions, again, you can reach us via email, you can call us, or you can talk to one of the staff persons here, and we'll try to assist you as much as we can. We may have to steer you towards the DC Housing Authority or DHS, depending on your question. And third, we just ask you to be respectful. Oftentimes these listening sessions can be passionate, and we welcome that. But we just ask everyone to just be respectful, right? We are here to assist. We're going to be respectful. We just ask everyone else to be respectful. And finally, I know we have the technology. This is being recorded, so if you have cell phones, you guys mind putting them on vibrate. Not saying that put them off, but please put them on vibrate. And if you can call and have to step outside the room, that's fine with us too. We're going to be here until we answer all the questions we can. Okay, so I want to thank you, and we can begin. Lionel is going to be the MC for this evening, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Lionel again.
Hello. Ma'am, you had a question in the back?
Yeah.
Company.
Phone number there, I'm sorry.
Oh, our phone number is 202-442-7200. And if you'd like our email, it's dhcd.dc.g0v. And we do have staff that monitors that email regularly. We do respond to questions or concerns. Hello. Any other burning questions?
Yes, I do have one. My name is Robert Brewer, Ward 7. I just purchased a home through the DHCD program. The property is 2 years old, actually maybe 3 years old. People started moving in maybe beginning of January 2022, I believe. However, we already experiencing predatory assessments. I'm currently in court, so I can't elaborate further on that. And it's atrocious. It's through a management agency and a board that had no experience at being a board. I resigned from the board because of the lack of experience that the board had, and they wasn't taking my advice seriously. So, I'm currently in court. What's the best approach? Even though I'm in court addressing this issue, what's the best approach?
So DHCD funds community-based organizations, one such as we're in the facilities, Marshall Heights. And those community-based organizations, we fund them to assist first-time home buyers with DC residents seeking to purchase. We fund what we call our heirs program. You have property, the heir property. We have legal services to help families keep the properties in house. Our community-based organizations also fund them to help with boards and some co-ops. So we would encourage you to look at our website, and if you don't, we can get the phone number for you for one of the community-based organizations that does assist with co-ops and different boards.
I really appreciate it if you can give me that information.
Absolutely.
Because I'm currently in court right now, and I'm already in discovery phase. So, but it ain't getting no better. We've been waiting 2 months. Our trains haven't picked up and covering the health and safety issue. You know what I mean? Not only for the property itself, but for the entire community, surrounding community. And this ain't good at all. As the EJF is the poorest management agency, a company I ever seen in Washington, D.C. I don't know how the developers felt that they was the best choice to manage this particular small property, but it's atrocious. You know what I mean? It's put the homeowners at a great hardship right now. Then they threatening foreclosure. So, like I say, things that's happening too fast, on brand new property. So.
Thank you for the question. And like I said, we have organizations that can assist you with that.
Yeah, because I reached out to Marshall Heights and couldn't help. You know what I mean? I reached out to a few other agencies supposed to help, but they only address them as going into foreclosure. But it's dealing as far as dealing with condo associations and things like that, they are file set. I haven't read into nobody that assists you in that area yet. I did speak to someone today. She's gonna look into it further with Legal Aid DC. But like I say, she wasn't even certain. You know what I mean? Like I say, I'm already in court. I'm a fighter. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna do what I need to do to get justice. But everybody else is suffering. Because of understanding and experience. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, Mr. Brewer. Yes, ma'am.
Say your name.
Hi, thank you all for being here. My name is Latanya Loring. I grew up in this ward. My grandmother, we just unfortunately sold her house right up the street. Her funeral services was right here at Stewart Funeral Home. I am a fourth generation Washingtonian. I am a single mother. I currently am a client. I went through Virginia Williams, who in turn referred me to a homeless preventative entity, Everhome DC. And I'm here today because there's a serious problem looming in the city. I know I got my 3 minutes, but just hear me out. Our mayor got on TV the other night, and I don't want to make this about any of you. You all are just people doing a job. But at the end of the day, when I hear our leader of the city get on TV and say that crime is down and housing is good, it's not. This is not a personal attack against the mayor. But at the end of the day, I'm a single mother. Coming to the city asking for help, we're not looking for a handout. And I find it hard to believe that this system is so backwards. I'm just going to read something because I don't want to allow my passion to. So I wrote something today. Unfortunately, due to the disheartening and embarrassing back and forth squabbles and inhumane fights transpiring amongst the district government leaders and elected officials regarding the housing funds crisis, the people who are stuck in the middle and are suffering are people and families such as the likes of mine and others who fit the description of what I'm about to say. Most of the places out here have insane income requirements that most celebrities will struggle to afford. A lot of the units in the city are not available to be leased, or at least that is what many leasing agents are communicating to interested tenants. Many of the units are infested with more living creatures than humans who reside in the dwelling communities. For those of us who are not convicted felons, strung out addicts, who are doing our best to overcome life's mess, diligently pursuing better mental health in hopes of becoming a happier and better version of self, going to work, post-secondary school to pursue a more financially stable job to become more professionally cool, but do not make enough to afford 80% of the single-family dwellings in Washington, D.C. I hope this city housing placement crisis can amicably be resolved soon for the sake and fate of those of us in imminent need. I see where you all fund homeless prevention. Listen, it's not happening. What are we doing? What are we going to do? How are we going to help those of us who need help? It's not just the ones that the population that I describe. And let's be clear, I am an advocate for the returned citizen. I'm an advocate for those who are struggling with addiction. But where is the help for some of us who don't fit in that equation? I was given approval funding to pay 4 months of my rent. But the problem that I'm facing, I'm paying so much in the application fees, that's ridiculous. We don't get it back. And if we to prevent homeless, okay, I'm grateful for the 4 months of rent, but I'm not even able to get approved because I don't meet the income requirements.
That's right.
I'm a single mother. I'm not the only one. And you know what? I'm grateful that I'm on this is in front of my face because I've been on both sides. Life wasn't always like this for me. But when I was on that other side, my vision was shaded. So I'm grateful to God that I'm on this other side because now it's on my street and I'm going to do everything and anything that I can to stand and fight for those who need help. What are we going to do? What are we doing to actually prevent homelessness? Help us. Help me understand.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Loring. Is there anyone else who would like to comment? This is gentleman, perhaps.
So,
You can say your name, your ward, and how long you're going to be resident. Some of those are used, fine. If you don't want to, that's fine.
Conversation, Ward 7 resident, been a DC resident all my life, except for college, so like 34 years. I'm I'm also a affordable housing developer. So one of my questions is related to coordination among city agencies with respect to assisted living. Having been in the affordable housing space in DC for a number of years, I've seen an increase in coordination between DHCD, DCHFA, and the Housing Authority. And I think that there's a gap similar to what this woman just described in the coordination amongst the agencies that is unintendedly displacing residents, specifically with respect to affordable assisted living. Because those projects require coordination between not only the Housing Authority, DCHFA, but you also have Department of Health, Healthcare Finance, and Social Security. And I think those entities are working together in a way that DHCD and the Housing Authority kind of consistently work together. And so I think on those projects, there's an increased coordination required. I don't know that there's really like a task force or kind of calls that they have to try to fix some of those issues. And then the second thing is related to permits, inspections. A lot of times I'm finding that people qualify for housing are ready to move, but it takes a long time for the housing authority to come and inspect the unit. And so now we have people just sitting in limbo because the inspection hasn't happened. And, you know, the project has gone through multiple inspections. DHCD's inspected it, Department of Buildings inspected it, but the housing authority hasn't inspected it. And so now this person can't come into this newly built building. And so there's a way to kind of expedite that or potentially give it to a third party to do that inspection. I think we can get people into housing much sooner because the housing authority backed up, understanding to give them, you know, some of the resources that they have.
Well, thank you. I do appreciate that. You acknowledge that some of the housing developers, develop entities like DHCD, Housing Finance Agency, we do coordinate. And our annual, biannual RFP, we coordinate. As a matter of fact, many of our projects don't move forward until HFA, Housing Finance, you know, put their financing, because most of our financing is layered, right? We can't go in alone. We can't just use trust fund. We have to use 4% tax credits, you know, 9%. We need to do bonding. And so we do coordinate. In terms of the other agencies, you know, one, we don't control DOH and some of the, you said, I think you said Bisbee on insurance.
Not insurance, it's healthcare finance. It's healthcare finance.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Now, I would say some of the projects that we do fund, many of them actually have are contingent upon funding sources, rental supplements from Department of Health and Human Services. So many of our projects have that. We can't, again, when you look at affordable housing, it's multi-layered in terms of how it gets built, but also in terms of the residents that move into those places. It's contingent upon those leases coming funded by other government agencies. But you're well noted. We'll take a look and see if we can talk to our sister agencies and to see if there's can be a little more coordination. And in terms of inspections, you know, Housing Authority have their own regulations of inspection, so it's a little bit more difficult for them to, you know, outsource it. But that would really be a question for them, not us. So that's why I said from the onset, we're separate entities, right? And I don't have a long, as others do. We can talk offline because you are a developer, and I think it's worth having that conversation because you're in the trenches to see what we can do. Okay, so thank you, Mr. Tingent, Bob Tingent. Thank you. No, and I'm asking for names because I want to have a conversation.
Yep.
So I appreciate that. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
William Proctor, that's the name.
William, what's your last name, sir?
Crockett.
Crockett. Nice to meet you, Mr. Crockett.
I had a property on Benning Road in front of Hackensack Mall, and low income housing was supposed to come in, and they did come in and build up over me. It was certified by the district government, and they didn't talk to me. No one ever came to talk to me, but the structure went up anyway. I wasn't going to live between two high-rise buildings with a little house and depreciated in value. So I had to sell. So then I moved to Ward 7 on Blaine Street.
And this was my neighborhood. When I first came here, I was at 42nd and Ames and 65. My first house was 104 35th Street. But I'm saying all of this, and I moved back to Blaine Street because it was a neighborhood that I knew, and subway and all of that. It's in change. But the developers and the district government have no respect for the people who are living there, the senior citizens. They come in and take what they want and don't even talk, okay? And then you gotta go out and find a place. I settled on Benning Road on February 9th, 22, and I bought this place February 10th, 22. You know? And it's all disrespect. I can't get a homestead exemption and a senior citizen exemption on the property. Now, I had to pay for my permit twice, you know, $1,300 out of my pocket, and then I gotta pay $1,300 again to get a permit. Then they wanna know, oh, did you draw plans? You know, they want a third party to come in and pull the permits and draw plans and leave John Doe citizens out of the loop. Construction is my background. I taught it. You know, I built it. And I don't take lightly to being disrespected. And everywhere you go in the district government now, you're getting disrespected. Okay? And something needs to be done and has to be done. And you can't constantly be giving away money, stuff, property, food, health, all of that. That's what makes the economy go awry. You know, they don't understand money. You know.
Well, thank you, Mr. Crockett. Sounds like some of your issues may be with the Department of Building. So again, you know, we have.
It will never be resolved.
Okay.
I'm just telling you, I waited through the month in my claim. And something needs to be done, and no one else needs to go through, especially senior citizens. You know, you can get old and you don't have a will or trust or whatever, and the city will come in and cut the grass and put a $5,000 lien on the back of your neck. And I've done that because I had a $200 tax, and they put a $5,000 lien on the back of my property. You don't do nothing like that to working people, old people. You know, and then you sell it to the developer and he comes in and make a whole bunch of money. The gray houses, the yellow houses, as if we don't know.
Thank you, Mr. Crockett. I'm sorry you've experienced some difficulty.
Well, I'm a fighter, and I'm gonna quit.
Your name Crockett.
That Davy Crockett's grandson.
Would anyone else like to? I'm only smiling, excuse me. A friend of mine just came in and he keeps laughing at me, so I'm not gonna say what it is, but please forgive me. That's the only reason I'm smiling, so please forgive me. I'm taking the issue serious.
Just say your name, what ward you live in, and how long you've been in the district, and
Hello, how are you? I didn't see you standing there.
Yes, ma'am.
we just ask everyone to keep your remarks to 3 minutes.
I'll try to do the best.
Your name, ma'am?
My name is Annette, Annette, last name Cherry like the fruit.
And what ward you live in?
I live in Ward 7
How long you been in DC resident?
for 85 years. Is that long enough?
I think that's. I wasn't challenging you, I'm just excited.
No.
I was born in Ward 7, so I'm excited.
No, well, I was born in Ward 7. I was born all over Washington DC, so I really don't have no special sign. I'm just happy to be here. And I'm not gonna take but a few minutes, but I'm a little frustrated. You need to help me out and explain to me why are all these buildings, apartments coming up all over Ward 7, Ward 8, apartments. They even have a senior citizens building right there on Minnesota Avenue, but you can't get in it. Don't know why. I didn't apply. One of my friends did. She's still not in it. And I'm wondering how, who are these places for? Who are you putting them up there for? All these apartments all over the place? I just don't understand. And ain't no use me applying for one because I can't afford the rent. I really can't. But I wish you could tell me why there's so many buildings going up and you can see them yourself. Right all across the street from you, down the street, Over here on, all these other streets, they got these new apartment buildings, who are they putting in them? Who's going in them? And the word affordable living is not true. I heard about this many years ago. I used to go to apartment meetings, housing meetings, and one of the speakers said, be clear when you hear that word affordable living. It doesn't mean affordable for me. It means affordable for somebody who got the money. So that word affordable living, no. It doesn't even gel with me anymore. I just wanted to make that statement. Thank you. I wish you'd tell me why who's living in these apartments. Thank you.
I mean, we can, I mean, it's DC residents. If you
Where
look
it
at
coming from?
it's a lot of our projects, as I was stating earlier, our requirements are through some of our sister agencies. And then the units are occupied by a lot of these. We have a housing challenge in the city.
I know
And
we do. I've
we
been living in
build and
those
build
lives.
and build, and you still have the crisis. So I don't want to negate that. You're 100% right. But you actually move into these units, we can attest because we know that these units have affordability caps that folk at 0 to 30, 30, 50, 30 to 50, 50 to 80, 80 to 120. You know, when we build units, what we try to do is do mixed income so that folk at
I know about
low
that.
income, moderate, and
Yeah,
few market rate. So
Right.
we do know who lives in
I know
those
about
units. But you know, thank you so much for your comments. We appreciate it. And as we look at our RFPs in the future, we know our city is aging. And, you know, so one of the things we do focus on is asking developers to provide housing for seniors. Now, we are a yacht lender. So when we put out a request for proposal, essentially developers come to us and say, hey, these are the units that projects we'd like to build, and we help fund them. But we do put in our RFP certain criteria. You know, we will focus on certain aspects of the population, seniors, disabilities, folk coming, returning to all of those communities. So, but we do that. So we try to fund something for everyone, to be quite honest. And we do, we really do. If you look at our projects over the years, we funded for folk in different communities at different income levels.
So that means I will live my life out until I die, and I still will not be blessed with a place that I can afford to live in. That's the end of my story. That's the way it's gonna be.
But we hope that's
No, that's the way it's gonna be. And I'm being truthful. I haven't got one in all these years. I don't see one coming now. So wherever I die, and if it's in that one bedroom apartment, okay, so be it. It's all good.
Thank you, Ms. Chair, for your comments.
You're welcome.
Ask a question.
1 second, we want to make sure we get everyone first before we come back.
I was just elaborating on Ms. Cherry's comment, because she was talking about all the new buildings. I see it going up around the city, Ward 7, Ward 6, Ward 8. No, Ward 7, Ward 6.
Ward 7 and 8.
But 8, you know, still a whole lot of developments going up there, you know what I mean? And they got properties over there that can be redeveloped, that's been vacant for years. And I always ask myself, why are they just letting these places be run down? I mean, you investing all this money into all this new stuff, but you can redevelop this property, but you chose not to. Why? Because it's a Ward 8 off Alabama Avenue? I mean, I'm just curious, you know what I mean? Because this property been vacant for over 10, 12 years, you know what I mean? And it's a big property. And I'm saying it can be used for multiple things, you know what I mean? Because of the community.
Thanks, Mr. Brown. Mr. Brewer, excuse me.
Brewer, yeah.
We have others we'd like to.
Okay, by all means, by all means.
Thank you, but thank you for your comments. Thank you for your comments. We appreciate it. Because we're housed in Ward 8, so we understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I had to come down there to buy my home, you know what I mean? So I'm quite aware where you at. I've been down there several times.
It's very well said.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, I came in a little late, so we may have already addressed this, but I'll ask.
Well, you have to give your name.
Ressie
We don't have
Wolfman.
to. Say it.
I'm Ressie, R-E-S-S-I-E Wolfman.
Okay. Ms.
I'm a
Wolf.
native Washingtonian. I unfortunately don't live in Washington. My husband dragged me out of the city, pulling him back in.
Okay.
So I work with a lot of first-time home buyers, and they are excited about the age path funds that are going to be released. And I read somewhere that there are about 150 buyers waiting for the money to be released because they learned last year how quickly the money ran out. They wanted to be prepared this year. So they already have identified their homes and they're waiting. And we're still waiting. Still are waiting. We don't know what's next.
You like me addressing HVAC?
Love that. Thank you.
So, you know,
Can you talk about that today?
no, I have not. But thank you. You guys will be getting the HVAC, the first-time homebuyer community. That includes our developers and our lenders, and obviously our first-time prospective homebuyers will be hearing something very soon. We're currently putting the grants in place, the funding in place, but you should be hearing something within the next 3 to 4 business days.
Honestly,
I said, next 3 to 4 days is mostly,
sir,
we no longer lives in the district.
yes, unfortunately.
It's okay. No, what I'm saying is we are working on putting some things in order, but you should be hearing from us very, very, very soon.
I'm a member also of the DC Realtors Association.
We got a letter from you guys.
You did get a letter.
Yes, we got a letter from you, and we're aware, so we're working on it. I'm smiling because it's coming out soon. I just can't,
Is it gonna change?
I can't. No, I don't think it's gonna change. We're just excited. Because we understand first-time home buyers is the bedrock of the city. We did 280 loans last year, 500 the year before, 500. We've increased the amount, max up to 202, plus up to 4,000 down payment closing assistance. So we realize the importance of the HPAP program.
It's a fabulous program. One of my clients was a recipient of a healthy voucher, used the voucher and the HPAP fund to buy.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so we're working on it, okay? Thank you, Ms. Wilson.
Are there any other folks in the room that have a question before we go to the folks in the chat?
I just have a question. And so many times we complain and we don't say what's working. Yes, we know that you all make these deals with these developers and they have to set aside a certain amount of units. What Ms. Cherry, Ms. VIP at DC is saying, what Mr. Crocker is saying, what this brother back here is saying is it's not enough. It's not enough. And let's be clear, most of the people who are blessed to get inclusionary zoning and getting, they don't leave. Once you get blessed like that, you ain't going nowhere. So the revolving door ain't spinning. It should be spinning, and there should be, all we saying is get more. We need more. We got more people coming to the city. And you know, it's unfortunate that a lot of us who are born here, from here, went to school here, grew here, evolved here, protested here, did everything we did for our city. And I'm not taking nothing away from our lovely visitors, you know, who are coming from other states. College brought them here, other things brought them here. But when are we going to start looking out for those who was born here, who are from here? I feel like we get put to the side, you know? So that's what we saying. Y'all doing it. I'm not gonna say that nothing's working, but it's not enough. Next time you go back to the table, open up more units. Please, we need more.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Everyone, I'm Kenya Johnson Curry, Ward 7. I just wanted to, from the beginning, to piggyback off of what she was saying. I'm in the same boat. I'm basically a single mom, and I don't fit the criteria, and I'm pretty much just stuck where I am, surrounded by people who are on lots of drugs, other issues, and I'm not anywhere near like that. I do not feel safe. I'm not safe. I've been threatened. My car has been vandalized. I've dealt with a lot trying to just get out. I've signed up for the IZO.
I see.
And a few times they've called me, but it's always heartbreaking to realize, oh, I can't afford it. So it's like, what was the point of that? So yeah, she was saying we need more. We need, I guess, more diversity of categories for people to fit into. Because
Because like I said, and like she said, not everybody fits into the typical category. Like, for instance, I don't smoke. I'm not against anyone who does, but I never did it before. And I'm supposed to be in a non-smoking property. It's a joke. And I have to suffer breathing in everybody's toxic smoke every night and day. I have fans, I have filters. Me and my 4-year-old have breathing problems. I get migraines, headaches, breakouts, everything, because I'm breathing in multiple unit smokes at the same time. And don't get me started on music. And it seems like the peace clause in your rental agreement, it's not enforced. Like, these people have this way where they can just violate your peace for a couple of days. You complain. If they stop for like 2 or 3 days, then they call it some kind of reset. Have y'all heard of that?
I have system now.
It's BS. So I still have to, I'm sleep deprived because these people like to start around 8 or 9 o'clock at night. Sometimes not stop until 1 or 4 a.m. And that's not to mention the pests, the non-human entities as you.
The creatures.
The creatures, yeah, the creature features. That's I like to call them.
So Ms. Perry, you know, again,
Thank you.
we don't own these units, right? My agency, DHCD, we fund it. So a lot of the issues that you're stating, it does seem like you have to really reach out to your landlord and use any legal means you have. But we don't really control it now. And we have units that are controlled by certain funding sources. We do certify those when we come out. But it does seem more like you have to really talk to your landlord, because that's not something that we directly are.
If she do that, she'll get targeted.
And I have been.
My agencies.
So y'all got.
Not my agency, not my agency.
Could I be directed to someone else then?
Sure.
I'm
so-
here for resources if it's
And
available.
so, a few things, well, while we're here to listen, we can also share some resources. I'm sure many of them in the room are familiar with the Office of the Tenant Advocate and also the Department of Buildings, right? And I know 2 or 3 of you have said that the smoking, the noise violations, not sure what the property management does, not sure that they have the resources or wherewithal to actually resolve those issues. There is a process without this also violating that the other tenants' rights. And I would first primarily encourage you to contact the Office of the Tenant Advocate. And you can contact them at 202-719-6560. I do encourage you to, whenever you have an issue or complaint, to put in a housing and property maintenance request at the Department of Buildings. Sometimes I've heard landlords say, "Oh, I never got any complaints from my tenants." It may be verbal, maybe via email. I would just strongly encourage you to file that formal complaint. Now, we can go a little bit further into some other additional resources because, much like Mr. Brewer, he lives in HOA. I know some folks also live in some limited equity co-ops. If they kind of own it at a limited equity position. Mr. Lindsay said we'll follow up and give you other resources. But at first, I just wanted to jump to some folks. And sir, I think you had a question.
I just had a comment.
Yeah.
I think one thing that might be helpful for a number of people in the room is the next time you guys do some type of open house is to do a walkthrough of DC housing search. Because hearing some of the comments here, I think there's a number of people who don't make 80% AMI who are looking at inclusionary zoning units.
Yeah.
But there's probably a ton of light tech projects that they could qualify for that are brand new built that wouldn't have some issues that are in existing housing. And they probably don't know that those units are available. So I think there's like a disconnect between the available units that meet the lower AMIs because they're not as widely advertised as the eyes.
And you bring up very good point. And one of the reasons why we're having the listening sessions is not just at our housing resource center, that's located at DHCD at 1909 and Monte Avenue. Some of our community-based organizations will also provide the services. So he spoke about the DC Housing Search .org. That's the website you can go to that will have those available properties online. We also mentioned, we get federal and, local tax credits. And so much like Mr. Lindsay was explaining, in some of our properties around the city, you'll have units at 30% MFI, 50. Those are income based. Sometimes, and Mr. Lindsay also brought this up, the local supplement rent program, that's, for BC Housing Authority. A lot of those units, sometimes they're permanent supportive housing, and folks are paying very minimal rents. Sometimes there are folks exiting homelessness, or I think Ms. Lindsay also spoke about returning citizen population. We also have this thing called housing opportunities for persons with AIDS, and so there are a number of different categories that we provide very low affordable housing. So I just wanted to, Mr. Lindsay, was okay with you, we're gonna go to the people in the chat.
Okay.
Another way we can come back to the folks in the room. But rest assured, we will come back and talk about some other resources, because we want to put some other agencies in our housing resource center. Because if you have an issue with your landlord, right? The office of the advocacy is a place where you go. If you have a cleanliness, maintenance issue, if there's water spots, if there's water damage, right? The Department of Buildings, also the Department of Energy and Environment. But we're gonna go to some folks in the chat. We're gonna come back to the folks in the room.
Go to the line. Who's the first person up?
Ms. Yolanda Corbin, your hand is raised. You can speak. Unmute yourself.
Yes, my concern is about the IZ program. The last letter that I read from them, they are above percentage of 30, and I, as a 74-year Washingtonian living in Washington, D.C., who have worked and now drawing Social Security, but I don't meet the requirements because, you know, the yearly is above $20,000, and that's just about how much I get. And I just have concern about that. And I was on the IZ program for 2 years, and the ones that I could afford, of course, I wasn't chosen because it's a lottery thing. And if I was chosen, they thought that I didn't have enough money to rent the place. So that's my concern, that that some regulations should be changed for those of us that that's at the bottom of the line that receive Social Security, that are retired and receiving only receiving Social Security.
And thank you for your question, Ms. Corbin. Just for informational purposes of those online and those in the room, minimum income for individual, someone has to make $27,350 unless they have a voucher or another type of rental subsidy. And so for the inclusionary zoning program, if you don't make that minimum income, and then similarly, there are income limits. An individual currently in the inclusionary zoning program, their limit is $85,000. That's the maximum income. And so the gentleman in the back, I think he is an affordable housing developer. There are a number of low income housing tax credit property that have units across the city. And the main reason why we're here is to also make sure our housing resource center lets you know about those opportunities. Now, I think some of you, I think Ms. Cherry, she left. I see Ms. Cherry. Yeah, Ms. Cherry left. I think two people spoke about on one end, the high number of new developments across the city. And we also mentioned the need for affordable housing and the crisis that we're currently in. So we're doing all that we can to make sure we increase the number of units across the city, and not just in 7 and 8. You can look in our 2019 housing equity report. We spoke about increasing affordable housing units, and we did it by neighborhood. And so we made progress in a lot of those neighborhoods. But like the moment over here, we do intend to do more, but not just on the constructing new units, preserving some of the older units. I think Mr. Purvis spoke about some vacant and blighted properties in Ward 8. And, you know, it's a process. We can't just take over properties. Sometimes there may be an absent landlord. And so I think Mr. Crockett spoke about receiving a fine more often than not. A property owner receive a citation. And then over time, if I'm not mistaken, they'll receive a different tax designation. So you'll receive those increased fines. But Ms. Corbin, I know we got away from your question. Just wanted to clarify that your income for IC at $27,350. And Ms. Corbin, not sure, but Mr. Lindsay spoke about some units that being set aside just for seniors. And so there are affordable housing units that we have for seniors that residents can apply. But I'm going to go back to some of the questions in the chat. Ms. Corbin, hopefully we were able to address your question. Ms. Joyce Jackson, you can unmute yourself.
Yes, hi, I will be 59 years in DC, and this is the ward I grew up in. So I do have the inclusionary zoning. I'm constantly sent apartments, rental apartments. Now it's a mandatory fee before I even move in for like events and stuff like that. I have asked not to be sent those properties. I don't even think that those properties, a landlord shouldn't mandatory make it a fee. So you're paying $1,500 to move in, then you got a $600 fee that you have to mandatory pay every year. Now this is affordable dwelling. No government agency is helping with that fee. That is not fair. On top of that, developers are coming into Washington, D.C., and they are able to own land. But the people that have housing homes now, their property tax is going up to push them out. This has happened way back when Georgetown was predominantly Black, and they pushed the people out by saying their homes were condemned and raising the property tax. This is not fair. I'm still working. I have a lot of health issues, but until God tells me to sit down, I'm not. But it's not fair for me to move into an apartment and I have to, if I want to have a community event, I have to pay for the gas. I have to pay for the water. How is it affordable if I'm paying the same much as a renter as a homeowner? Now, the next thing is, I don't think this panel can answer that question because that would be up to my council. So I want to know, my real question is, I've came to these meetings numerous of times when there was someone else over top of this department. People sit here, give the concerns, nothing is done. Not one thing. And I want to know, all of these questions you're getting, who's going to address the citizens for real? Who do we really take our concerns to that can make changes? Because none of you can make changes. We do this every year. I think these meetings are just to say you had a meeting with the citizens in that ward because nothing is changing. We're sitting here, people are telling you what their issues are, but you're giving them number departments. Oh, and okay, we done this. You said 2019. It's 2024.
Ms. Jackson, thank you so much for your comments. We appreciate
So
your
what
comments.
councilman
So can you,
is the
Ms.
person
Jackson,
that's
can you
going
hear
to
me?
address the issue that
Hello,
these
Ms. Jackson,
citizens
can
are
you hear me?
giving?
Ms. Jackson, can you hear me?
Okay, yes.
Thank you so much for your comments. You've covered a plethora of subjects. I do think that the government, the executive office and the legislative office, the branches work together to fund affordable housing. So we do work together. In terms of your unit, because you did say you are in an inclusionary zoning unit?
No, I am not, because I
Oh, I'm
work
sorry, I
and I
misunderstood.
cannot afford it. Why
Okay.
would I move into something that I'm gonna pay for? A
Right.
landlord, the developer's not paying anything, the landlord's not paying anything in ADU or
Okay.
IZ. The
So,
renters
so I
are.
think as an alternative, as my colleague here stated, one, I encourage you to go to our DCHousingSearch.org to see what units are
Okay,
available.
I've done
We
that.
fund units outside of inclusionary zone. Well, we actually don't fund inclusionary zoning. Inclusionary zoning, those units are given to the district when the developer builds. They have to set aside a certain. So we actually don't even fund or have funding into those units. But we do have alternative options, like many of our low-income housing tax credit properties. And then we do have some properties that we have funded. I think we just funded one over an 80-yard, was 100% affordable. I think there's one in Noma that's almost 100% affordable for folk at different income levels. So we do just encourage you to go on our DCHousingSearch.org
I
to
do
see if
that
there are other
every
available
month.
units for you
I
to.
do it every month, and there's nothing there because I'm getting emails, I'm going on there, and when I look at it, it's like, okay, I can afford the 13, but then all these other fees. You see what I'm saying? The other fees are what's pushing us out.
Yes, ma'am. So we'll work on it. I appreciate the comments. I think that what you're
Can
saying.
you put your email address and everything in the chat?
Sure. Would you have any questions? What's the email?
Now, Ms. Jackson, we'll make sure we put the agency email in the chat, and I will make sure to follow.
No, I want direct. I don't want passive answers anymore. No offense to you guys. I want direct contact.
Well, a couple of things. One, there may be some questions that we can't directly answer to some of your issues, right? There may be other agencies that will have to assist. So when you email us or contact us, we can, talk to the different levels of the government, because we may not be the agency that can do it, right? You may need assistance from Department of Human Services, we just don't know. So when you contact us, we can have a staff person assist you and push you in the right direction to help.
Okay, well, what is your position? What's your position?
We'll give you the agency's email.
What is your position? Do you work for DHCD?
My position is the Chief Administrative Officer at DHCD.
Okay. That's what I need to know. Thank you. So I will be
sending so much,
you and Mr. White an email.
Thank you. Anyone else in the yes, okay, a few more. Sure.
Walcott, I see your hand raised. Just unmute yourself. Mr. Daniel Walcott.
Hello. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hey, thank you for the time and being available to us. I'm a realtor in the Washington, D.C. area. I represent clients and clients in all wards. And my question is specifically about HPAP. And I know I brought this up in the last town hall. I have a different question because there's been some rumors, which I hope aren't true, that you guys may be considering putting HPAP in a lottery program similar to the IZ. Can you speak to that?
No, we cannot speak to that, but you will be getting notification on where we are with HPAP within the next 3 to 4 business days.
3 to 4 business days, perfect. And if I could, while I have the floor, I just think that would be a terrible idea if you guys are taking suggestions on that, because there are buyers who are currently under contract who have their NOEs, who have essentially had that money, as it's written on the NOE, promised to them if it's available. And so a lottery system would be disastrous. And I think the lottery system, as it is for IZ currently, is not effective. It's not helpful. And so I think changing after 17 or so years how HPAP has been working to a lottery system would be detrimental and not helpful at all to the residents who are looking for affordable housing and places to live in DC. So.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Mr. Walcott. We appreciate your comments. Thank you.
Ms. Shay Queen Darby, you can meet yourself.
Good evening. My name is Shay Queen Darby. And my question is, I believe I saw the slide earlier that stated you guys are preventing homelessness. I just want to know how, or trying to having an effort to prevent that. How are you actually doing that? I am currently in the Family Rapid Rehousing Program, and I am receiving monthly from my case manager that they are exiting families. And let me say that again for the people in the back. They are exiting families out of the program into homelessness. What is actually being done?
Thank you for the question, Ms. Darby, and thank you for actually highlighting one of the programs that the DC Department of Human Services manages. Now, the Rapid Housing Program is a temporary program. If I'm not mistaken, some families receive a year and some change of assistance. More often than not, a lot of our families enter the shelter system. Families primarily through the Virginia Williams Family Resource Center. Some end up at many of our short-term friendly housing sites. In addition to the rapid rehousing, which the shelter programs, much like the first time, short-term family housing, you also have the homeless prevention program. And so there are a number of different ways that the DC Department of Housing and Human Services assist families who are on the verge of being displaced or are homeless. And so the pathway, as I understand, and some enter the rapid rehousing program, and the agreement is that many of them will be able to maintain the rent. Sometimes I've seen some families leave the rapid rehousing program. Some may go, there's a myriad of different ways. They can go into inclusionary zoning. They can go into a tax credit unit. Some, when they increase income, potentially home ownership may be viable for them. But there are a number of different ways that folks enter and exit homelessness. Now, as far as rapid rehousing, we can definitely connect you with the Department of Human Services. And I think you spoke about folks who are exiting the rapid rehousing program. I think year to year, you would see that there are many families that are exiting one of our rehousing programs. And if you would like, Ms. Darby, I would love to follow with you. Just leave your contact information in the chat, and we would love to ask you additional questions. But we also want to make sure that anyone in the chat online or here in person, just leave their information with us so we can follow up. And so, Ms. Darby, I just gave a brief overview of some of the programs that the DC Department of Human Services manages that help those experiencing homelessness.
Thank you, Ms. Darby.
Okay,
Leave your information in the chat. We'll get back with you. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And if I can, what are you guys also doing to prevent homelessness for the senior citizens and our individuals that are disabled?
So I think my colleague was steering all residents towards the programs aforementioned. Those programs are sort of an umbrella to help everyone, and not just for families, they're for all. So if we have seniors that at risk of homelessness, if you contact one of those agencies, they can assist you as well. And if you know of any seniors that are in that position, you contact us. We'll do everything we can to connect you with our sister agencies. So one of the things we mentioned, I know that in our opening, we stated we fund homelessness prevention. Actually, the funds come through our agency. Through our agency, we're a pass-through. So the funds come from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development to DHCD, and we pass it through some of the sister agencies that we mentioned. All right. So thank you, Ms. Darby. We're going to move on to we got more time left.
Yes, we have one more question on the line, and then we're going to return to folks in the room. It's Terry Wade. You can unmute yourself. It's Terry Wade. Terry Wade, are you there?
Ms. Wade?
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, are there anyone else in the room?
You have to state your name, your ward, and how long you've been in this.
Hi, my name is Commissioner Shirley Thompson Wright. 7F07 is my SMD. I have been in the ward for 28 years now. I consider myself a stakeholder, even though I didn't grow up on this side of the bridge. But my question to you is that we have a lot of affordable housing complexes coming up for the high rises and long hallways. What about the funding for DHCD through home ownership projects that are affordable at not just like workforce level, but 80 to 85% in that range? But it also has a very low, if it's going to be a townhome type complex, that we get developers to buy into having very low HOA fees so that they're able to afford this home and live in this home, since we don't want to live in these high rises and I don't want neighbors, but we still want to be able to live in affordable complex.
You know, homeownership obviously is central to our communities, right? When you own, there's this theory that you have such a vested stake in your community. We would love to build more home ownership, but we don't get a lot of home ownership projects. I think there's one here, Crawford Landing in Ward 7. I think there's one or two more, but there's not a lot when you compare it to the number of affordable rental units that we fund. And we would love to do more affordable housing opportunities, right? Because when the developer comes to us to build that, we also have HPAP to layer it. So we can help people get that 50 to 80 or 120 AMI to become a homeowner. So that's something that we put out an RFP. We do seek home ownership opportunities. We just don't get a lot of home ownership projects on the affordable side. In terms of the homeowners fees and things of that nature, you know, that's oftentimes with the developer, you know, they try to maintain their property and things like that. So we don't get delved that deep into it. Our job is construction.
And if it was permissible, I would just add that also DHCD has a property acquisition disposition division that takes vacant and blighted or underused properties. We also produce affordable housing opportunities. So we'll be quite redundant about the things we're doing around affordable housing, either on the new construction or preservation. And so those properties are available on our website. And I would encourage you to stay connected with us, subscribe to our newsletter, attend meetings like this. So you all are VIPs, if you will. And so there are, Ms. Jackson cannot hear me. Can you hear me now, Ms. Jackson? The folks online, can you hear me? Oh, good. What I was saying is that our DHCD's Property Acquisition Disposition Division has a number of properties that developers renovate and they make affordable, mostly at the 15-80%, 16-80% MFI level. So, Commissioner Wright. And so that's just another avenue now. So Lindsay was right, but just two off mine that I know of affordable townhomes are going up. One is on St. Elizabeth's campus. Another is near Washington Hospital Center, right there with Mellon. And so those are just two offhand that are new construction townhomes that are for the 80 to 60 to 50.
And there are a few across the city, High Street. I was just highlighting the ones that I knew we funded. But aside from that, we also have the HPAP, which is a magnificent program. You use that to buy into, you know, sort of existing communities as well.
Reason being why I asked you this question, because of the simple fact that I live in a complex, which is a low income, not low income, but affordable complex. And they were denied preservation funds and a whole bunch of other things after we as a tenant association went through the whole total process and
Okay.
did what we did. The landlord now is not keeping up the property, and I see that across the city, especially in this 7. For whatever reason, they're saying that the persons aren't paying rent, so they're not able to keep it up. But they're still receiving funding, and the property's not being kept up to par. And the only thing that they're doing to keep in touch
So why don't you
is
and I,
paperwork.
why don't you and I have a
Okay.
conversation?
Okay, this one didn't know because I'm like, the paperwork just keeps up.
You're touching on something
Okay,
that's very, very genuine.
okay,
And, I don't want to smear
okay.
my fellow DC residents, but we'll talk about that offline
Okay.
in terms of voting out there.
That's the reason
It's
why
real.
it's affordable
It is.
and peace, because
Yep.
some people wanna maybe just buy it. They don't wanna be in an affordable neighborhood and say, go across to Ward 8.
Well, that's why I mentioned Ward 7, because you are ANC here, so you're vested, right? I didn't want to, there are a few, but we don't have a whole lot, we just have a few. Anyway, we'll talk offline if that's okay. So don't go anywhere, okay? All right, thank you, ma'am. Commissioner, I'm sorry.
Ms. Wade, I see you have your hand raised again.
Yes, I do. I thank you for coming back to and allow me the opportunity to ask a question. I'm familiar with the IZ program, affordable dwelling, and this workforce housing. None of the programs seem to be working. I appreciate DHCD. And how does DHCD present to HUD and the Housing Authority that the minimum requirement to even participate in the program has excluded senior citizens on fixed income, low income be underneath $20,000, and yet profess to be affordable?
In this way, to go back to standards, you were asking the question how we present to HUD and DC Housing Authority about the IZ program. The IZ is specific to the district, so we wouldn't report the inclusionary zone program to the Housing Authority. And not to be redundant, more often than not, we're working in concert with DC Housing Authority and utilizing HUD funding to not only preserve, but also develop new units for affordable housing. But there are restrictions to the programs. Each of our programs have different requirements. And so, I may have said this earlier, you may not have heard, and Mr. Lindsay said this as well. And so the ID program may not be for folks make a certain income. It could be that, and I see a lot of folks in the chat talking about the DC housing search. That's something that we may need to investigate and see how it's operating. But to the point, there are some other housing options available for folks, especially seniors, who don't make that income for the IZ program. And so
That's my question. Those facilities that are specifically for senior citizens have 3 to 5 year wait period. What are we waiting for to house people? We don't have enough facilities to house seniors, and those that make less than $20,000 are forgotten. Those are the matters that should be brought upon contractors who want to develop in the city and say they will have 10% affordable housing per square foot.
so, and if it's okay, Mr. Lindsay allows, he spoke and mentioned 2 properties. One of them is a property called The Emblem that actually was developed in partnership with Marshall Heights Community Development, a fully.
I spoke with Marshall Heights, and Marshall Heights told me I should stick with the community-based organization that I initially started with the IZ program on 2 different occasions. A third attempt has been from out rental 2 times, and now I'm seeking the housing purchasing. But listening to what this is, that's almost phased out because of what's being done federally.
That's not quite this way. I would love to get your contact information to follow up with you.
Sure.
Yeah, just if it's possible, would you be able to put your email, phone number, or whichever way you want us to communicate with you in the chat?
Will do. Thank you.
Valerie, ma'am, there are a couple of senior housing projects that are coming online. I think Kenilworth Avenue off of, Hope 6 project, as well as the Berry Farm Senior Housing Project. They'll be coming online, I think within the next year or so, if I'm not mistaken. But we're gonna get you information, and we're gonna, reach out to you and see if there's anything we can do. Okay, Ms. Derrick? Ms. Wade?
All right, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else? Anyone else? Got a gentleman in the room?
Yeah, I got here late, so it's
Okay.
probably, went over there. I just briefly touch on, two issues. I saw in your mission statement that you do, gap funding. And you also do.
By the way, can you state your name?
My name is Lynn Dyson. I live in Ward 7, and I've been here for 20 years.
Okay, thank you.
I saw two, things in your mission. One was the gap funding. The other was rehab, for, single family and multi-family. Could you just touch on those two programs a little bit? I run a nonprofit also, and we're looking for space to purchase actually. Ideally, here to Ward 7, I don't know if they have these commercial properties like that.
So we don't own, we are a lender. Department of Housing and Community Development, we are a lender. We gap finance affordable housing, and we also fund community organizations to assist with our issues. What I mean by gap funding is a developer wants to build a 100-unit project. Let's say the project costs $20 million. The developer has to raise a $20 million to build a project, but the developer can only raise 15, maybe 12. So they'll come to us and say, hey, I need to, there's a gap for me to finish this project. And we'll lend the developer $70 million to give us a certain percentage of the units in that building as affordable at different affordable levels. So that's what I mean by gap fund. What was your second question? So, and that's part of that as well. So what we do is we'll fund new construction, and we also fund rehabilitation of existing properties. Someone here mentioned TOPA. TOPA is the Tenant Opportunity Purchase Act, where if the landlord decides to sell the property, they must give the tenants the opportunity, first right to purchase, and then so your TOPA rights kick in, and the tenant will say, the tenant association, the tenants can form a tenant association, just come to us and say, hey, we want to purchase the property. If we have available funds, we can help fund the purchase and the rehabilitation of the property. So that's where and that's part of our preservation mission as well, right? We build new housing, but we also help preserve existing housing. And then there's the rehabilitation on the single family side. So that's for the multi-family units. And for single family homes, we help rehab those homes as well. Right now, our focus is on roof repairs or replacements and accessibility. We have funds to help a lot. Most of those funds are going to, it's a homeowner, obviously, but we're helping a lot of seniors stay in place.
So you have funding for seniors who own their homes but need repair?
Yes, we do. And we encourage you to go to one of our community-based organizations. And if I'm not mistaken, Marshall Heights is one of them. They can take the application for the single family. And yes, we do have funding to assist a lot of our seniors.
Your acquisition program, does that include housing stock that is just sitting around and decaying?
Well, it depends.
That's funds for lending to purchasing and rehab those properties.
So we have,
especially if it's done for affordable housing.
Sure. Well, anything we touch has to be affordable. Okay, and all of our funds have to have an affordability mechanism in it. So with our property acquisition, this property acquisition and disposition division, they acquire properties throughout the district, mostly smaller parcels. To be quite honest with you, most of the valuable parcels that you can really do serious development in cities they're being developed or are off the market. Because, and remember, we don't own all of the properties in the city, right? You have developers and property owners. So with the property acquisition disposition division, they acquire properties through tax sale, in the domain, which is rare, through freely sale or through donation. And what they do, they put out, that division puts out an RFP or request proposal for developers. They're normally smaller developers, 1 to 5 unit, maybe 10 unit, mostly smaller. And believe it or not, we do have a lot of smaller developers, minority developers in that program. We'll transfer the property to them if they have a plan at a certain dollar amount, and in exchange, they must make some of those units affordable.
You say transfer, but.
Well, sell, transfer, however the property is acquired by the buyer. We work out something, because we do recognize some of these properties need substantial rehab. Like I said, if you really look across the city, the properties that we're acquiring through PAD, they need a lot of work, a lot of rehab. Or they're small lots that, the configuration isn't that great, so it makes it a little more difficult to develop.
Are there many lots still left in the city?
I don't know, I'll be honest with you. But if you were to reach out to us, we could probably reach out to one of our sister agencies and find out, the number of lots. But it's just not a lot left, especially when I say lots, it's more like the valuable lots that you can really do some serious development. There's just not a lot left. There's not a lot left.
All the things you just talked about, that's specific programs in the agency that we can go to.
Yeah, if you want to get in touch with us, we encourage you to send us an email. Or I'm sorry, you have Mr. Lionel Gaines behind you, your sister. Go ahead, by the way. Yes, ma'am. We have a young lady here who's been waiting for a while. Your name, ma'am?
My name is Diane Edmonds. And I just wanted to know how a landlord would go about applying for rehabilitation funds for multifamily units.
So generally, our landlords go through it. We put out a request proposal once, maybe twice a year to say, hey, we have funding. Tell us what you want to do. And a landlord would apply to that RFP to let us know what you want to do with the units, what are the income levels, what your need is, things like that. And remember, we are a gap lender, so we do not fund the project. It's our preference not to fund it at 100%. We like keep it at a third, but that's how you generally come through. Or you could submit a proposal to us. We can take a look at it. But to be it's generally a competitive process. I'll be quite honest with you. Right now, funding is short. So it's a very competitive process. But that's how you would do it. And then, again, if you need more information, you can contact us and we can kind of, steer you, help you out a little bit. Okay? We have the no, sorry.
Don't do that to me. It was either get married or,
Hey, you chose
the married, right?
This show. Yes, ma'am. How can I assist?
It's a good place for a homeowner to start if they own property. In line with what you're talking about right now. So,
What do you mean?
where's the best place for a homeowner to start?
Homeowner, someone who currently owns.
Correct.
Is there an issue with the property? What are you asking for? Rental? What are you asking?
What's the best place for a homeowner to start if they want to develop their property and offer the units to people who qualify under the AMI affordable housing? So
Let's talk about a single family home. You want to sort of go up, thing with it.
exactly.
I mean, I think you would probably need to go to the Department of Building to ensure that you can actually build on that project. You got to make sure things are right. Okay.
So which one of your agencies would be a good place for them to start the process to figure out what opportunities are available to them? And they also, aren't a person of lots of money, don't have a lot of means, and they want to find funding so that they can develop their property.
Well, I'll be honest, we don't generally fund those type of projects. That's not something that we have invested a lot in. So, you would probably have to go to the market try and get some funding to do something, but if you're trying to build one time, then, you know, I mean, that's generally where you're gonna have to go. We don't really fund a lot of those. I haven't seen us fund anything, because unless we acquire it and we, you know, have a developer, who gets the property through the RFP process, we generally don't have a mechanism.
I just want to do one quick comment. If you're, I guess, a single family homeowner or multi-family property owner, it's one to understand your zoning. And so I know the DC's Office on Planning is currently going to roll out their DC 2050, their comprehensive plan. So one, have an understanding of the zoning designation where your property is. Going to the Office of Zoning, saying if you need to change that designation, more often than not, you're gonna go for your ANC and get approved. And but there's the whole construction process, Department of Buildings, Department of License and Consumer Protection.
Yeah.
And then maybe you may come to us and
Get all our ducks in the row, then we.
You know, like I said, we really don't fund those types of projects, so, you know. But as Lionel said, there's a lot of other government agencies you really have to go through, zoning, Department of Building, licensing before you would even be able ready to move that project forward. Because we have height restrictions and all kinds of things.
there is one question in the chat that I just want to address to everyone.
Okay.
As Jackson said, can either of you address how low credit residents get IZ ADU rentals without all the additional fees? It's not clear to me what you mean by the fees, Ms. Jackson, but first I would say visit one of our community-based organizations. They should be able to provide you a credit counseling. They're provided funding for this and they are compensated. Additionally, the DC Department of Insurance, Securities and Banking has the Financially Fit DC program. And they also have the Financial Empowerment Centers that's run by the United Planning Organization. So if you need work to fix or repair your credit, one of our housing community-based organizations or our Financial Empowerment Centers. The same things talk about.
Okay, all right. All right, we have anybody else any comment? Look like the house is getting a little light. That's fine.
Any other questions?
Thank you so much.
Now, there are some questions in the chat that I just want to address. But if you register for this event, we'll ensure that when future, Ms. Darby, we'll ensure that future housing opportunities, whether it is rental or home ownership, that the district funds will ensure that you're aware of those opportunities. And we're also, we're putting together, we're going to be revamping our housing resource guide. And so whether it's DC Housing Search, some of our homeless prevention programs that the DC Department of Services manages or DHCD, we'll make sure we're just sending you a kind of a resource guide of all the available resources for homeowners and renters. So if it's permissible, I just want to turn it over to Mr. Lindsay to give, oh no, Ms. Darby, several people have questions now. Ms.
Well, I just had, I'm sorry, go, Ms. Jackson had her hand up for a while, because I just have a comment.
No, I'm fine. I'm fine. I just need what he made the statement of how people can get their credit to get into the ISD and the ADU. If that information can be emailed.
Your question is, Jackson, how do you fix your credit?
It's every, so what I really want to know is every IZ and ADU unit, how you go take the course, but if your credit is no good, then you just don't be considered, period.
So Jackson, why don't we do this? We have the information. We'll put you in touch with one of our community-based organizations who have real expertise in this area, repair or helping with IZ. So why don't we do that?
They got one in mind.
Okay.
Right here.
Oh, the young lady said that you can come right to Marsh Rights, but thank you. But let's do that, Ms. Jackson. We'll get in touch with you, okay?
Okay.
But thank you for your comments. Thank you so much.
Right. Mr.
Yes,
Pendergrass. Mr. Pendergrass.
I'm sorry.
Mr.
I'm sorry,
Pendergrass,
this
you're
is Shay
next.
Queen Darby.
Mr. Pendergrass. Mr. Pendergrass. He's not speaking. Mr. Pendergrass, if you were to put your information into the chat, we'll reach out to you. Thank you.
Okay. It's Shay Queen Darby. We're gonna go to you.
Hello?
Mr. Pendergrass.
Oh, there you go, Mr. Pendergrass? Yes, ma'am.
How you doing?
Good, man.
My thing is, it's like the same thing everybody keeps saying, is the same excuses about, we'll get back to you, we'll refer back to you. We've been living here for 40+ years, and they keep building these houses and apartments, and people who could not afford it. So what we're doing is keep giving these excuses after excuses. We'll get back to you, we'll let you know we're funding it. How do you not have funding when all this money is provided to the DC government? It's always like a funding. Can't nobody afford no $2,000 a month, $3,000 a month apartment or nothing. So we are tired of the excuses with the excuses. We need houses affordable. Can't no one afford these houses y'all putting up.
Well, Mr. Pendergrass, we thank you for your comments. At DHCD, we are striving to build as many affordable housing units as we can with the funding that we receive. With the funding that we receive.
I'm there with Mo. I done talked to the leader of my ward. I'm there with all this stuff, and all they keep saying is we'll forward to somebody and get back to with us. That's all we get is forward the information so I can get in contact with us. More excuses. Mel Bowser need to stop doing what she's doing and focus on the low income people first before you build all these developments that can't nobody afford. We come first, people come second. Like she said, we are 80 and 90 and 50 years old, paying taxes, living here, and we cannot afford these things that they're building up. So affordable living is not for us. It's not affordable for us.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Pendergrass. And there are specific questions we will reach back out to you. Thank you so much. I think that's it. So that's the comments.
Ms. Shay Queen Darby.
Oh, I thought we spoke to Ms. Shay. Ms. Shay, we had property homelessness rapid greenhouse.
Okay, Ms. Darby, she has another question that was unanswered.
No, it's not an unanswered question. It's just a comment that we live in a nation's capital. There should be a 0% homeless rate. We are Washington, D.C. We should not have homeless people in Washington, D.C. That's all I'm saying.
And we agree with you. We're striving, the government, all the agencies, we are. I can assure you, we're doing everything we can to address that issue. So we thank everyone. We appreciate your comments. We've gotten some really good feedback this evening. We will go back to the lab.